French bond yields jumping to their highest level since November after President Emmanuel Macron saying he would not resign, quote, whatever the result of the upcoming French parliamentary elections. Macron began his second five-year term in 2022, but his administration has been under increasing pressure since a far-right surge in Sunday's EU elections. Joining us right now is Counsel on Foreign Relations President Emeritus Richard Haass. He's a senior counselor at Centerview Partners, and it's great to have him at the table to help us break down what has just happened over the last week and what it means.
Interesting week, and we're heading towards what the French like to call cohabitation. After the elections late this month and early in July, you are clearly, Mr. Macron, his party is going to get hammered.
So if you had to write an essay for Foreign Affairs right now, what would your essay say about the takeaways from what just happened?
Okay, what it shows is, it's a really bad time to be an incumbent. European incumbents pay a real additional price for low economic growth, prolonged, high levels of immigration, and overregulation. You add all that up, incumbents are going to get hit everywhere.
But what does that say about the politics of Europe? By the way, what does it say about the politics here?
What it says about the politics there is, how would I put it? Europe's great at regulating, not so good at innovating, and not so good at growing, and we're seeing the effects of that. And again, open borders, relatively open borders over years have also really hurt. Look, anytime the incumbents don't deliver, they pay a political price, and that's the message here. And so, by the way, it's a message elsewhere. We saw it in Argentina. We saw it in India. We're seeing it everywhere around the world. If you're the incumbent, right, and people don't see measurable improvements in their living standards, they're not confident about the future, you are going to pay a political price. But then what does it say to all of these businesses who have looked to a France to say, okay, I'm going to invest there, or I'm going to invest in India? What are they supposed to think now? Well, in terms of France and Europe more broadly, you've got to think twice, because as it moves to the right, you're looking at a really large welfare state. What's interesting now is right and left overlap in some areas in Europe, as well as here, by the way. No one, by the way, is in favor of small government. We're seeing it here. We're seeing it there. And you've got to think about it. I think banking regulation has been fairly heavy in Europe, is likely to go that way. So, businesses are going to have to think twice. You're not going to have robust growth rates. India, a lot of people are looking to as a kind of alternative to China, but it doesn't quite, it doesn't quite emerge as how would I put, separate and equal. So I think there's going to be some frustration there.
Just in terms of what it means here, you pointed out that Europe's had a slower economy. They're better at regulating, not so good at innovating. But there's a lot of discontent here when you look at inflation and wage growth that until recently has not kept up with inflation. Does that play out the same way? How do you see this? Well,
it's clearly, a headwind for Joe Biden. No matter what the objective measures are and certain things about economic growth and levels of employment, people don't feel better. And they're not confident they're going to be feeling better down the road. So, yeah, he faces real political headwinds over that, not to mention the border, not to mention his age. So you have to add these things up. And I would say what just happened in Europe is a real warning sign to Democrats.
There's no doubt, though, that one takeaway from Europe is that the Greens got absolutely hammered. And green, in some respects, means deindustrialization, or going to Russia for your natural gas, however you want to see how that, closing down nuclear reactors, all of it converging with AI needs and grid needs, which are going to be just exploding. So we're going to need energy. Transition's not going well. People are chafing at what's necessary to reach those aggressive goals that Europe embraced more than we have here.
Well, I think there's a real lesson in this, that energy transitions got out of sync, and people were moving against anything carbon-related and traditional fuel-related before they could dial up the other side, and people got caught. And that I think, is the lesson. And
wasn't it obvious?
Well, everything, yeah. I would have thought it was pretty obvious. In retrospect, it's certainly obvious.
We spent $12 trillion, or I don't know how much, but we're still at 80% fossil fuels.
Yeah, we're going to be at heavy fossil fuels. And we can look at the mix of fossil fuels, less coal,
right.
Obviously
they don't
more
do that
gas. No, but you've got to do that. And we're looking at fossil fuels. By the way, this transition, we're not talking years. We're talking multiple decades. And that's what people have to internalize.
What do you tell all your now that you're a big investment banker?
Thank you.
What do you know? Well, what do you tell all your clients about what's happening here and what they should do about it?
Look, I think for any business, you got to assume it's a really turbulent world, much more turbulent going forward than it's been in that. We're going to look back, by the way, Andrew, at the last couple of decades or more as almost a golden age of geopolitics.
Okay, so you're just very pessimistic then about the future. globally?
I am worried about reemergence of geopolitics, the absence of trade, over-regulation on a few issues. What I feel positive about, though, is technology. Think about it. We got through the COVID pandemic because of two technologies, mRNA vaccines and Zoom.
Right.
Zoom is probably the underappreciated technology there. I think we're probably going to get through a lot of the climate issue, not because of these annual gatherings, which are real wasteful gab fests. We're going to get through them because of technology. That is the hope. So I think on a lot of issues, that's what I'm positive
But
about.
if you're talking about the breakdown, effectively, of the world order, of the Klaus Schwab future.
There's not going to be a world president. Andrew was pitching the idea of a world president.
Some of us may welcome the break. Davos is not at the center of things.
But look, if you look at the top, I don't know, Fortune 50, Fortune 100, Fortune 250 companies in America, they effectively are multinational companies. That is the business.
Everyone.
And if you're saying that's not the business in the future, or that's a much more complicated business, that's actually a thing that I actually imagine most investors don't think enough about.
True, because it doesn't plug into models, but that's the reality. You have to assume that U.S.-China ties are going to remain, shall we say, defined by friction. More, not less restrictive. You've got to assume that global trade is not going to come back. We're not going to have a successor to the already unsuccessful Doha round. We're looking in this country at more protection and more industrial planning, whether it's Trump or Biden. The pendulum has swung. The economic model has changed. The Middle East is not poised on the edge of stability. Europe is not poised on the edge of stability. So you have to assume, when you look around the world, that is a less benign environment for business than looking backwards.
Okay, now throw tariffs into the mix, too.
Yeah, tariffs are in the mix. People are going to reciprocate, and they're going to be inflationary. I actually think, if I look down the road, and this is more your department than mine, but I would think inflationary pressures are going to grow if we close down immigration, we introduce tariffs here, you get reciprocal tariffs elsewhere. How is this not going to be inflationary?